Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Now, let us say the weight of this one is, the weight of typical iPhone would be, let us say, what is the weight of iPhone? Anybody knows? Somebody said 200 grams. Okay, fine. Depending upon which iPhone version you buy. Okay, if you have the expensive version. All right. Okay. So let me consider here 0.1 kg. Okay. Now I have this system. Okay. And then I would consider whatever the stiffness of this system is. And that value is available to me because I can put a foam. Okay. I can put like papers. Because it's an expensive material, it would be better. Or I can put some bubble wraps here. No, you guys have seen bubble wraps. Okay, but those parameters are known, that what is the stiffness. I can measure that. As an engineer, you can do that. And although I'm explaining a very simple example here, this could be extended for the protection of any item. Okay, so the problem becomes, I have a box which is, and I'm only because horizontally it is not going to fall. There won't be any impact horizontally. Okay, so I have a stuff inside. Okay, let us say it is falling through a height of 1.5 meters. Okay, and after the fall, I want this box to be such that it does not bounce, because if it keeps on bouncing, then it is not a good protection system. It will keep on imparting energy to the item inside. So I want that this should be something, or let us say it's a cardboard, or it's like simple paper box, that would not rebound back, so that as soon as it falls, it stays here. But whatever the system inside it, or this item inside it, this will start vibrating, correct? Because there's a change in the direction of relative velocity. Okay, so the other parameter, I should provide so much of foam, or if the stiffness is known, I should provide a box that is big enough so that after the fall of 1.5 meter, the deformation should be less than this half of the distance of this box. Or of course, it is to be a finite size minus the thickness of that size. Okay, so that should be the maximum. So this is the problem that you need to solve now. Okay, you have a 1.5 or an object inside it. Let me say the weight is around 0.1 kg. Okay, it is falling through a height of 1.5 meters. Okay, and the stiffness you can assume, let us say 1, or let us say 10 newtons per meter. Okay, so the stiffness is K, and remember there are two of them. So can you give me, neglecting the thickness of this item, iPhone has like no negligible thickness, the total dimension of the box that I should consider? So this height that I should design. Can you solve this problem for me? Is the problem clear, or anybody needs any additional information with respect to this problem? Please let me know. If not, go ahead and problem. It is not very difficult. The formulation I have discussed just to give you a sense of practical example of what we have been discussing. However, the problem itself is not very difficult. All you need to find out is Umax. And remember, one more thing that you would need to assume, this box is made up of, let us say, simple paperboard, and it has negligible weight. Just for the sake of it, you can consider with the weight as well. Nothing changes. Okay, you just need to consider the conservation of momentum. However, in this case, just assume to have negligible. Okay, only the weight of this which is provided to you. I'm getting different answers. Good, you're trying. Let us see. We will actually solve this and see. Okay, so please keep on trying. Still have 2 minutes more. Should we solve this problem? Let us go ahead. It is falling through a distance of 1.5 meter. The box has negligible weight. Okay, so can I say the acquired velocity at this point, okay, would be approximately under root 2gh. Anybody has any objection to this? So the acquired velocity of this mass, remember, as soon as it hits the ground, okay, the box comes to stop. However, the whole velocity is actually transferred to the mass inside and it starts moving with that initial velocity. So I can also call this as initial velocity. Okay. And the height is 1.8. Okay. So what is this velocity? This I would get as 5.422. Okay. So now I have a free vibration in which the system is moving with a initial velocity of 5.422 seconds. There is no deformation though. Okay, let us continue. So it will have an acquired velocity of 5.422. Okay, now what is the damp or so this would be a free vibration of an undamped system with stiffness as k equal to 2k. Okay, because these springs are actually work in tandem. So this is basically those springs are they in parallel or are they in series? What are they? Are the force same or the displacement same?
Displacement same.
And when the displacement is same, then they are in what?
Parallel.
Parallel or series?
Parallel.
Parallel, right?
Parallel.
And when they are in parallel, the k equivalent is 2 times k. Okay, so it would be 2 times 10, so 20 Newton per meter. Okay, so let us say what is the maximum? What was our this one was u0 plus u dot 0 omega n, right? For a free vibration, for a undamped free vibration, this was the amplitude of the motion. Okay, there is no u0, so I'm just left with u dot 0 divided by omega n, right? Omega n I can calculate as k by m, which is 20 Newton per meter divided by 1 kg. So this is 200. Okay, and this would give me 14.14. Okay, so initial velocity is 5.422 divided by 14.14. Okay, which gives me the displacement of 0.38. Okay, meters. Let us say this is 38 centimeter. Okay, now if 38 centimeter is the total, so what should be the total box dimension? 2 times 38 centimeter, which would be 76 centimeter. Okay, so this is just a demonstration, okay, of how do we apply this knowledge. A sophisticated model of this would be you could have applied a damper. For example, if it would have been because do you know what happens during the shipping? Just imagine how many things are being shipped at any instant, at any time in around the world. There are a lot of things, and the shipping cost depends on the size of these boxes. And you ideally would like to minimize the size of these boxes. You don't want a very big box. So what do? You go ahead, you want that this should be even be smaller than this. So maybe the material that you provide inside does not only provide the stiffness, but also provide damping. Okay. And one of the good ways to do that would be actually using a bubble, for basically a bubble wrap. You guys have seen bubble wrap, right? It's very fun to pop those bubble wraps. I'm sure many of you would have done it. But if you use that, it would provide damping as well as spring. So both, so that it can, instead of let us say 76, maybe you can do it within 40 centimeter. And imagine the amount of volume it would be saving by just decreasing by this much of thickness. Okay, so you can transport more stuff in the same amount of space. Okay, reduce your shipping cost. Okay, and ultimately it would reduce the overall logistics that are involved in shipping this item. Is this clear to all of you? Any doubt regarding this problem?
Hello, sir. This is Puneet.
Yes, Puneet.
Sir, if we will solve this problem by just a normal method, energy equal to half ku square, can we do this? Because the answer Umax is matching by that method also.
Okay, let us see. So Puneet is saying that we had a potential energy of mgh, which got converted into half k maximum displacement. Okay, but from this, what would you get? Let us see. Umax or the maximum energy in the spring. Okay, would be, so the whole energy is actually transferred here, and it's an undamped system. So it might very well work for you. It would be 2G, right? Times K here. Sorry, this would be 2GH. Well, it would be 2mgh by K. Okay, and what is m by K here? So let me again write it as this one as 2GH, and then I will write this as K by M. So is that not the same as what we have discussed? Omega n. So this is the same thing. Where is it? That is here. Okay, so this energy conservation would work for this undamped system. But if you consider the second type of system where we include a damper, then this might not work. Okay, so it will work for this problem. All right, so energy conservation would also work for this problem. However, if you had a different type of problem in which you energy is not, either you find out the dissipated energy and then equate it, or if not, then you consider the equation of motion. So both approaches are fine. Okay, absolutely fine. Is this clear to everybody? If yes, then let us do another quick problem very quickly. Okay, let us. So in this problem, remember we talked about the suspension of a vehicle. Okay, so let me say I'm representing a vehicle. What is the typical weight of a car? Can anybody tell me the typical weight of a car or any vehicle? For example, like any mid-size car that you take, maybe 1000 kgs. Is that a good presentation, or 1500 kgs, right? So let me consider or represent the car by a spring mass damper system. Okay, so what I do, this is 1500 kgs. Okay, yeah, depending upon what kind of car it is, it might be like different. So remember, as an engineer, you should have feel for the numbers. So you should know what are the typical quantities. For example, you should know what is 1 feet, how much 1 meter. Okay, what is typical weight of a car? What is the typical width of a column? What is the typical mass of this item? So these things basically help you to design a problem and then get a feel of the problem. So let us say this is a 15 kg car, and then the suspension system and including the tire, I'm representing it with a spring and a damper. Okay. Now it is given that, okay, when this vehicle is not moving, it is just standing, the initial deformation in this spring is, let us say, 10 centimeter. Okay, or let us say 0.1, not 0.1, 0.01 meter. Okay, so this information is given to it that at static equilibrium position, the deformation in the spring is this much. And I'm also telling you that this system, the overall system, is actually critically damped. So this is critically damped. All right. So what you first need to find out, okay, what is the value of K, right? What is the value of zeta, or the damping in the system? Okay. This is the first thing that you need to find out, given that the system is critically damped. Now what happens? This car right now is empty, and then 4 of you get inside this car. And let us say that the average weight of you is like, let us say 75 kg. So 4 of you would mean 300 additional kgs, right? You get inside the car. What do you think will happen? Initially, if the system was critically damped, right? And then 4 of you get inside the car. So the total mass is actually now 1800 kgs. Will the system become over damped, under damped, or it will remain critically damped? Can somebody tell me? It would become under damped. So I've got one answer as under damped. Anybody else?
Remain the same, sir.
Remain the same. Why? Because damping does not depend on anything else. Are you saying damping does not change?
Maybe, sir, I'm not sure. Sorry.
Under damp?
Well, damping does not change. Damping ratio might change, right? So the damping coefficient might not change, but damping ratio might change, isn't it? Okay. I think so. Think about what happens. All of these are like 2-minute numerical calculation. So after 4 people get inside, what is the new damping ratio or the effective damping ratio? Okay, give me that and the final. So just does that much. I'm not going to add anything extra. Okay, so first give me the value of K and zeta, and after 4 of you get inside the car, what is the new value of zeta? Can you do this calculation quickly and give me the answer?
Sir, is it 0.833?
I don't know. I have not calculated. I just gave you the problem.
Yes.
We will find out. We'll find out. How about others? What answers are you getting? Anybody else? Okay, so I'm seeing that a lot of you getting answer as 0.9. Let us see. I mean, I said you initially that under the initial under the weight of this 1500 kg, the suspension system, there was deformation of 10 centimeter. Now during the static position or the initial position, would this damper act or provide any resistance? So what I mean to say that should Ku plus Cu double dot should be equal to mg, or should Ku be equal to mg? I know it's a very trivial thing to say, but what is it?
Ku is equal to mg.
Ku should be equal to mg because initially we are saying that it is a static load. Okay, initially what did we say? Damping would only be there if there's a velocity. Okay, and we said that if you take something like inside a liquid and then gradually, very slowly try to push it, there won't be any resistance because it is actually depends on the velocity and not the displacement. So during the static position, we assume that it has acquired that static position very gradually. Okay, so that's why we neglect this term here and directly assume K is equal to mg. Once that is there, I know that K would be mg. Oh, sorry, I know that what would be my K? Yeah, whatever the mg is, which is 1500 kg times 9.8. Okay, divided by whatever the deformation is, in this case 0.01. Okay, now I've told you that initially the system is critically damped. So zeta is equal to 1 for critically damped system, and zeta is also equal to whatever the damping in the system divided by C critical, which is 2m omega n. Okay, once you get the K from here, okay, you can find out omega n, right? Which would be under root K by m. Is it or is it not? Okay, and then once the omega n is known, then you can calculate what should be the damping ratio for this one, right? Or what should be the C value, right? Once you know the C value, that is the damping of the system, that does not change. So the damping coefficient of a system does not change. What changes is the damping ratio. Okay, so C does not change. It is a property of the system. However, zeta changes with mass, okay, or stiffness. So you will find out what is the inherent damping of the system after the weight becomes 1800 kgs. Okay, you can substitute now instead of 1500, 1800, and what should be the value? Remember, you could do that directly instead of without calculating C if you directly take in the ratio of m by m. So you could have taken the ratio and then found out. But remember that omega n is also going to change because your mass is changing. So can you find out the answer for this one? Is it difficult? Any of you who have not been able to finish this? Okay. All right. If this is clear, let us end the class for today. Anybody has any question now?
Sir, is this example a case of forced vibration?
Is this example of case of forced vibration? Well, if you are considering the horizontal motion of the vehicle, then it is a forced vibration. However, if you are just considering the vertical vibration, like, just assign an initial value and then let it vibrate, then it's not a forced vibration. Okay, because there are two cases here. One case could be just a vehicle. This is just like a fictitious case. The actual situation would be that a vehicle would be moving on a road, and because of horizontal movement, there is a vertical vibration. We will do that problem as well. Okay. Right now, I'm just telling you in terms of properties of the system. Okay, these are the properties. And remember, whether it is free vibration or whether it is forced vibration, these equations are not going to change. So zeta would still be defined as C by C critical. Okay. And basically, whether it is underdamped and overdamped, whether it is forced vibration or not, that would still be same. Okay. So that thing, although we would discuss later, is not relevant here, because we are nowhere here we are utilizing whether it is a free vibration or forced vibration. We are just utilizing that system goes from a critically damped system to an underdamped system. And it could happen with free vibration or forced vibration both. We are not trying to find out the displacement amplitude or something like that under the dynamic motion. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. Any other doubt? If not, then I'm ending the class.